Hello everyone and welcome to another LSJ's Late Review, this time for The Assassination Bureau. So The Assassination Bureau is a 1969 adventure, comedy, romance sorta movie starring Diana Rigg, Oliver Reed and Telly Savalas, and directed by Basil Dearden and produced by Michael Ralph, also co-written by Michael Ralph and Wolf Mankiewicz. Anyone who's watched a couple of these reviews will know that I did a Basil and Ralph joint a while back called Victim, which was a standard thriller but elevated because of the subject matter and the time it was made. This is something completely different. In fact, I looked at the poster and I stupidly thought this was a 60s spy movie. Why would I think of it otherwise? It's got Diana Rigg in it. And also, interestingly enough, this is the first of two movies that come out in 1969 to feature both Telly Savalas and Diana Rigg together. They would go on to make the best Bond film of all time. Yep, come at me. It's the best. That is On Her Majesty's Secret Service. There's a lot of things I get a kick out about this movie. I'll tell you the general gist of the plot in a minute, but I just want to say there's a lot of things that rang bells in my mind as if to say, oh my God, you're going to probably really enjoy this. And I really enjoyed the first half of this movie. I'm going to say that right now. And some of the things that got me excited were the setup, which is really cool. I'll go into that in a minute. But as someone who's a fan of both Doctor Who and The Prisoner, oh my God, there's so many actors. I'm going to miss a couple, but we got Olaf Pooley, fucking Kevin Stoney, Beryl Reid, Kenneth Griffith, Roger Delgado. Alright, he doesn't have any lines in this because he's basically a henchman kind of character. But I've never seen him in anything that's not Doctor Who, so I got a real kick out of that. And the music is done by Ron Grainer. So Ron Grainer is one of the people behind the Doctor Who theme, and also Man in a Suitcase, and of course The Prisoner. So there's a lot of things to get me really pumped up and excited about this movie. And it starts off really good too. Alright, so the general gist of the plot, fuck, this is a strange movie. Alright, there's this, it's set in the 1900s, before World War One, and you've got this reporter, Sonia Winter, and women reporters aren't too common back in the early 1900s, so they pretty much build up Diana Rigg's character as being a pretty good, strong role, and I really liked her in this movie. It's a shame the movie doesn't use her enough, and I'll explain why soon. But she finds out about the Assassination Bureau, and she wants to write an expose on them. And she's asked, like, how are you going to get in contact with them? Oh, that's easy. I'm going to ask for someone to be assassinated. And you're like, dun dun dun. Oh, I didn't expect that. So she ends up using their methods to kind of set up a meeting, and then she meets the chairman of the Assassination Bureau. And they have a bit of a debate, and he thinks it's a good service because they kill people who deserve it, and yet, and yet, of course, murder is wrong, blah blah blah. That's her argument against it. Anyway, she sets up a contract against the chairman of the Assassination Bureau, and he's like, oh, you can't afford that, and she plonks a bunch of money on the ground. It's like, oh, okay, I accept. Except the plan. Mild spoiler. Hey, this movie's friggin' 51 years old. I'm allowed to talk about plot shit. But the vice chairman of the group is the guy who is played by Telly Savalas, hires Sonia Winter to set up the boss of the chairman in the first place, because he doesn't want to use the Assassination Bureau for good. He wants to use it, well, because he's power hungry and he wants to kill people that will help him further his own agenda. So it sounds pretty serious, but everything's kind of light and fluffy. The philosophy of it all is sometimes brought up, but not really. It's kind of glossed over, because after that you have Diana Rigg and Oliver Reed, who is the chairman, going on this kind of adventure from location to location, though I think it's pretty much all filmed in England. I wouldn't be surprised if it was all studio stuff, because every time they're on a balcony and shit like that, behind them is, I don't know what the technology is. Just think old timey green screen. You know, there's shit going on in the background, but you can tell that they're in a studio somewhere. And yes, it's glossed over in order for this kind of fun back and forth relationship between Diana Rigg's character and Oliver Reed's, which works. He's a strong, charismatic man. She's a strong, independent woman. Sparks fly. They go on this adventure where members of the Assassination Bureau are trying to kill him, and he's trying to kill them. And she's kind of caught in the middle, and it kind of builds up to this plot towards the end. And it's a really interesting movie. It's something I think it's surprising that's never been remade, because I guess of the male female roles in this, probably would lead to a good rom-com or two. Maybe it has. Maybe something like this has been redone and kind of modernized, but definitely not set in World War One. This movie does a bit of an Inglourious Basterds, and when I explain, you'll know what I mean. When it takes what really happened and then just does its own thing, because some point in this movie, Franz Ferdinand is killed, and then at the end of the movie, Oliver Reed saves a whole bunch of European diplomats and shit from getting a bomb dropped on them from a Zeppelin. And World War One seems to have been averted, and you're like, oh, okay, that's really weird. So I was excited for the first half of this movie. It has actors I know, it's fun, it's got a nice fast pace to it, and then at some point through the movie, around halfway or maybe a little bit after that, Diana Rigg's character is slowly phased out, and she's barely in the action-packed climax at all. Instead, you know, her and Oliver Reed are on horseback racing towards the bad guys, and he's like, no, you've got to warn the diplomats and shit. So she tries to do that, and he goes off to battle Telly Savalas in the finale, and you don't see Diana Rigg much again until like very end of the movie. And you're just like, what a shame, because this movie built her up so much. She's a big part of most of the first half. And then just to kind of pull her out of the action, it was really disappointing. Because she's one of the main reasons why it was fun. So it could have been shorter in that respect. Like, if you're going to have her out of the action for so long, then you should have made some bits that went on way too long, shorten them up. Oh man, I would have beefed up her role even more, had her be part of the climax, even have her save the day and stuff, but I guess that's too modern for 1969 movies. It happens. So there was a lot to talk about with this movie, but the thing was, I was so excited with the first half of it, and when the second half just didn't live up to that, I got less excited talking about this movie. I know I've talked about it at length now, but I'm like, oh, really? You could have done so much better. You've even got this strong woman known for playing, you know, kind of female action roles in both the Avengers and, well, to an extent, on Her Majesty's Secret Service. You know, two great roles for Diana Rigg, and you give her another great role in this one, and then you stop doing something with her about halfway and just go in this other direction. And I think should have focused more on what made the first half great, and that was the chemistry between her and Oliver Reed. And it doesn't capitalize on that enough. I think there's a reason some movies become lost in time. Some of them get unearthed and are revealed to be hidden gems and come to be appreciated a lot later on. Then there's movies like The Assassination Bureau, which I'd never heard of until recently, and I can see why it was kind of lost in time. There's some creative elements to it. It's quite laugh out loud funny at some points too. But the second half, it couldn't get over it, and it got less exciting and fun as the movie went along, and that's not something you want to do. It's like what happens sometimes when you've got a really unique, different concept, and then you kind of fumble the ball. Just think of like any Purge movie, pretty much. So I'm going to give the Assassination Bureau a 6 out of 10. Well done performances. Interesting concept, but the execution just kind of fails to deliver. And I think if they remade this movie, I don't know, I'm not a huge remake guy, but if they remade this movie, I think they could do it justice and kind of make the Diana Rigg character, Miss Winter, a lot more strong, well-rounded, and also be part of the actual finale, which would be nice. So, there it is. Give me a like, dislike, share, subscribe, all that kind of crap. And I'll see you very soon for another review. I've already watched the movie, so stay tuned for that. Thank you.